This looting moment highlights a common Rainmaker mistake. Watch closely.
They still force back here.
Under Sparky left side.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah, throwing it on the left.
No way, Lily, no way.
No way, Lily.
Yeah,
No way.
way.
No way.
Yeah,
No way.
Dog, as much time as I can.
Let's go.
Yep, I'm talking about leaving the Rainmaker open and unattended. As someone who's both lost and won important tournament sets due to making and punishing the same mistake before, I can promise you don't want to let this happen to you too. Leaving Rainmaker open may seem efficient sometimes, but there's almost always a safer or more proactive option we can take instead that'll save you many Rainmaker games in the future. Before I get into that though, while talk of tournaments is still in the air, there's something special I want to show y'all.
Faster and faster, dear. The road's still moving backwards. Now it looks so clear. The snow eating up by the road, eating up by. I can still look all the twists and turns, but it feels so straight ahead. A little farther till the end. We'll go faster and faster.
Everyone is on this side. This could be a sneaky push. They do go for it, and they don't take the up to 20. But look at it. Blob, blob,
Over the
blob.
puck.
Blob and Junior coming back in.
Yeah. Just came in, unfortunately.
Gotta love it there. Hugs on top of the stage, new teammates as they play on their normal online teams.
No? Alright, I think that solved it. So y'all can hear that at home. Big apologies for that. But
Sloth doing some work in the mid.
That's gonna
They
be it.
pop the basket. Can they find a way to get lead? They do. Can they get one more clam in to avoid overtime going down?
Devian talked to
And
me
they
what
do. Somebody won a game.
So thank you all so much for tuning in and showing your support.
Low Tide City is a LAN tournament taking place in Round Rock, Texas on May 13th and 14th. At the time of recording this, Splatoon already has over 100 attendees registered, and well-known teams like Last Resort and my own team Cherry Limeade will be attending too. If you're able to make it and want to meet myself and fellow Splatoon players in person and play or spectate some amazing Splatoon, it'll certainly deliver. I loved being there last year and can't recommend it enough. It's held at the Kalahari Resort, so you can also hang out with your friends after the event at their water park if that's your thing. Not sponsored, I'm just spreading the good word. Now on with the video. Picture it. The enemy team just got a solid push in with Rainmaker, but you managed to wipe their team and end their push. What should you do now? Many players will choose to pop the Rainmaker shield and then leave Rainmaker open and wait for it to reset back to mid on its own. And this right here is exactly what we should avoid doing. But why? To many players, being forced to grab the Rainmaker is a liability, and they'd rather let it teleport itself back to mid after 15 seconds and keep using their main weapon in the meantime. This may seem like the most comfortable option to take, but there's two major issues with doing this. The most immediate threat is that by leaving Rainmaker open, there's always a chance that an opponent who sneaks past you can quickly grab it themselves and continue scoring points that they realistically have no business making, just like the opening clip showed. An opponent getting away with a play like this can cost you the game outright pretty often, and even if they don't get a sneaky KO, you still have to sacrifice a lot of time to turn around and deal with them once you see what's going on. This is especially dangerous against a team with a Kraken Royale user, since they don't even need to be stealthy, and can instead just swim and charge their way through your base until they reach Rainmaker and pick it up again with no real way of stopping them, so long as it's there for them to grab it. Now, you can also choose to have a teammate puppy guard the Rainmaker while it takes its time to reset back to mid, but having one teammate spend all that time sitting in your spawn and be unable to help out everyone else as they try to get back into mid has plenty of its own problems too. The second issue takes a bit more thought to understand, but I think it's just as important. Even if the other team is unable to cheese a regrab on the Rainmaker, for it to naturally return to mid, you have to wait 15 seconds since the shield was popped, then another few seconds for the shield to reform, then you have to win the fight for your team to repop the shield again in mid, all before you even get a chance to pick it up and attempt a push of your own again. Considering the fact that the enemy team likely either wiped or at least went several players down in order for their own push to end at first, they'll be sent right back to spawn and take about 10 seconds to respawn and make their way back to mid. Notice the differences in time here. The time you have to wait for Rainmaker to reset to mid is longer than the wait for the other team to respawn, meaning that by the time Rainmaker is back in mid and you want to pop shield open to make your own push, the other team will be there to stop you. It's still very possible for your team to win that second fight in mid and then start a push, but it's a new obstacle that we introduce for ourselves. And in the event your team loses that fight, you're going to end up on defense again and potentially repeat this cycle over and over, never actually getting a chance for your team to score points. At this point, I hope I've convinced you that leaving Rainmaker open after a defense could be a game-losing decision at worst, and an inefficient use of time at best. So what other options are there? Another common strategy that tries to work around these issues is to force Rainmaker to reset manually. If you fall off the map while holding Rainmaker on your team's half of the map, the Rainmaker will not appear next to where you fell off and will instead be automatically transported to mid. This is certainly better than leaving Rainmaker to reset on its own, since by grabbing it yourself and getting it out of your spawn, you get rid of the possibility of an opponent sneaking in to score more points. And you also shave some time off of how long it takes for Rainmaker to return to mid at all. However, this still means you have to take the time to pop the shield once it returns to mid before you can grab it again. There's also the slightly larger problem that a teammate has to sacrifice themselves anytime you want to do this, meaning they won't be there to help your team regain map control and give extra DPS to your team to actually win that shield pop that's about to come up. The best way to describe manual Rainmaker resets is that while they ensure that the other team's push is over, they still leave your team at a disadvantage on converting that defense situation you were just in into a counter push of your own. In moments that you just really need to rob the other team of their offensive momentum, manual resets can certainly be useful. But if you know for sure that the other team's push is over anyway, and you want to get your own push going quickly, there's still something better we could do. Alright, enough of saying what not to do. What should we do with Rainmaker in these moments? The answer, and it's crazy I know, is to just grab it. As long as Rainmaker is in our team's hands, it can't also be in the opponent's hands, so we can feel secure about not immediately getting pushed against. Even if your Rainmaker carrier does go down unexpectedly, the other team then has to wait several seconds for the barrier to reform and then pop it, which gives plenty of time for the rest of your team to react and stop the opponent from converting that kill into a push, or at the very least slowing them down. Grabbing Rainmaker off of defense and bringing it back to mid yourself also means you already have possession of it once you're there, no need to worry about contesting the Rainmaker barrier again. This in itself has two major benefits. For one, if you already have Rainmaker held, that means that at any point if you see an opportunity to run it 4 points, you can just go for it. Sometimes a team will pave a path forward for their Rainmaker to score, but then realize no one actually has it yet, so they have to take time to go back and get it and then come back. And that extra time could be all the opponent needs to figure out where you're going and then set up their defense to stop you. The other benefit, and the thing that's by far the most overlooked, is that by holding Rainmaker, you get to use it as a weapon. And the strength of Rainmaker as a weapon should absolutely not be overlooked. The game itself even considers it to be a special weapon, and unlike most specials that only last a few seconds, you can hold Rainmaker for up to 60 seconds at a time. Sure, it can be a little slow to charge, but it sports some incredible range, pain output, and lethality with those charge shots to justify it. In fact, having possession of the Rainmaker as your team is retaking map control can make that process itself much easier. Rainmaker has so much range that it can even contest chargers and other backliners and keep them off of their favorite positions. And the explosions where the shots land are useful for clearing enemies out of behind cover for your team and scoring kills if they don't move out of the way. Remember, just because you need to push forward with Rainmaker eventually doesn't mean that's the only thing you can do with it. Again, you have up to 60 seconds to make a play anytime Rainmaker is picked up, so you can spend some time spamming charge shots to help your team create an opening before actually making the run for points. It's no secret that most players don't like being the one to hold Rainmaker, and it makes sense given that it puts a lot of pressure on your shoulders to not only be the one to score the points, but also being a glowing target for every enemy. But I guarantee you that getting comfortable with holding Rainmaker and making the most of it will pay off. To recap, holding Rainmaker whenever possible makes it harder for the other team to push, while also reducing the time and steps necessary for your own team to capitalize on opportunities, and gives your team access to Rainmaker itself as a powerful main weapon. Whether you're in an offensive, defensive, or neutral situation, having Rainmaker already in your team's possession will make your life easier, so it's a habit I think everyone should learn. That's all for this video. If you'd like to learn more about Rainmaker as a mode, I have a guide to everything you need to know about Rainmaker's new checkpoint system that I'll link in the description and in the card. Good luck on the Rainmaker grind out there. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.